In the endless darkness of space, a strange object floated silently among the stars. It was old, battered, and covered in scars from battles fought long ago. The alien ship approached cautiously, its sleek design gliding smoothly through the void. Inside, the crew watched with curiosity as their scanners picked up faint energy signals coming from the mysterious object. It was a human warship, long abandoned but still holding secrets within its cold, metallic walls. The leader of the alien crew, Kale, stood at the front of the bridge. His translucent skin shimmered faintly under the soft glow of the control panels. Beside him, Nira, the team's chief analyst, studied the readings carefully. Her large, dark eyes narrowed as she processed the data. "It's a warship," she said finally, her voice calm but filled with intrigue. "Human-made, but it's been drifting here for centuries." Kale nodded slowly. He had heard stories about humans, how they were intelligent but also dangerous. Stories told of their ability to create powerful weapons and their willingness to use them without hesitation. This discovery could be an opportunity to learn more about them, or it could be a trap. Either way, they couldn't ignore it. "Prepare a boarding party," Kale ordered. "We need to know what happened here." Minutes later, Kale, Nira, and 3 other members of the crew suited up and stepped into the airlock. Their suits were equipped with advanced technology, allowing them to survive in any environment. As the door hissed open, revealing the interior of the human ship, a chill ran down their spines. The corridor ahead was dark, lit only by the dim glow of emergency lights that flickered like dying fireflies. Dust and debris floated lazily in the zero-gravity environment, untouched for hundreds of years. They moved carefully, their footsteps muffled against the metal floor. Every step felt heavier than the last, weighed down by the eerie silence surrounding them. Soon, they came across the first sign of life, or death. A skeleton lay slumped against a wall, still wearing the remnants of a uniform. Its bony hand clutched a weapon tightly, as if frozen in time during a desperate moment. Nira knelt beside it, examining the remains. "This one didn't go down easily," she murmured. As they ventured deeper into the ship, they found more bodies. Some sat in chairs, others lay sprawled on the ground. Each one told a story of struggle and despair. In one room, they discovered a terminal partially buried under debris. Nero worked quickly to reactivate it, her fingers dancing over the controls. After a few tense moments, the screen flickered to life, displaying fragmented logs. A male voice crackled through the speakers, weak and strained. "Captain Ryan here. We've lost contact with Earth. Supplies running low." The message cut off abruptly, leaving the group in stunned silence. Kale exchanged a glance with Nira. Whatever had happened to this crew, it hadn't ended well. But the real question lingered in their minds. Why had these humans stayed on this ship until the very end? What drove them to keep fighting even when all hope seemed lost? Nira continued to dig through the ship's systems, uncovering bits and pieces of information. She learned that the ship was called the SS Horizon, part of a fleet sent to explore distant regions of space. Something had gone wrong, though, something catastrophic. The details were unclear, but one thing became obvious. Humanity's determination to survive came at a cost, and that cost might have been far greater than anyone aboard this alien vessel could imagine. For now, the answers remained hidden, buried somewhere deeper within the ghostly corridors of the SS Horizon. But Kale knew they had to keep searching. If they could understand what had happened here, perhaps they could prevent a similar fate from befalling their own people. Still, a nagging feeling lingered in the back of his mind, a quiet warning that some mysteries are better left unsolved. The alien team moved deeper into the SS Horizon, their footsteps echoing softly in the empty corridors. The air was stale, and the walls were lined with rust and scorch marks from battles fought long ago. Kale led the group, his eyes scanning every corner for signs of danger. Behind him, Nira carried a handheld scanner, its screen glowing faintly as it picked up traces of energy lingering in the ship. The rest of the team followed closely, their weapons ready despite the silence that surrounded them. As they entered what appeared to be a cafeteria, the scene before them was haunting. Skeletons sat at tables, their bony hands still gripping utensils or cups. Plates of food, now nothing more than dried, crumbling remains, sat untouched on trays. It was as if the crew had been frozen in time, caught in the middle of an ordinary day that turned into disaster. Emily, the youngest member of the team, hesitated at the doorway. Her wide eyes darted around the room, taking in the eerie sight. "What happened here?" she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Cale didn't answer immediately. He crouched beside one of the skeletons, examining the uniform it wore. The fabric was faded but still bore the insignia of Earth's military. These were soldiers, he realized, tasked with protecting humanity's interests in space. But against what? And why had they failed so completely? Nira interrupted his thoughts. "Captain, look at this," she said, pointing to a nearby terminal. She worked quickly to power it up, brushing away layers of dust and debris. The screen flickered to life, displaying fragments of text and images. One file caught her attention, a series of logs detailing the final days aboard the SS Horizon. She played the first entry, and a male voice filled the room. "Lieutenant Harper speaking. Supplies are running dangerously low. We've lost contact with Earth, and our attempts to reach other ships have failed. Morale is dropping fast. Some of the crew think we're cursed." The recording ended abruptly, leaving the group in silence. Daniel, another member of the team, frowned. "Cursed? What does that mean?" "It means they were scared," Nera replied. "Not just of dying, but of something else. Something they couldn't explain." They continued exploring, moving toward the bridge where the ship's command center was located. Along the way, they passed through living quarters. Personal belongings were scattered everywhere. Photos, books, even toys belonging to children who must have been aboard when the mission began. It was a stark reminder that this wasn't just a warship. It was once a home. The thought made Emily uneasy. How could such a place turn into a tomb? When they reached the bridge, the sight was grim. More skeletons lay slumped over control panels, their skeletal fingers still resting on buttons and switches. In the center of the room stood a large chair, the captain's seat. A single skeleton occupied it, its posture rigid as if frozen mid-command. Nearby, another terminal awaited them. Nira approached cautiously and activated it. This time, the message was clearer. "Captain Ryan here. If anyone finds this, know that we did everything we could. But it wasn't enough. The enemy, they came too fast. Too strong. We couldn't hold them off. To whoever hears this, stay away. Don't let them find you." The transmission ended with static, leaving the room heavy with unanswered questions. Who was the enemy Captain Ryan spoke of? And why had they attacked? Cale turned to his team, his expression serious. "We need to find out more. Whatever destroyed this ship could still be out there." Nira nodded, already sifting through the data on the terminal. She uncovered references to advanced weaponry stored in the lower decks, weapons far beyond anything the Zorathians had encountered before. It seemed humanity had prepared for the worst, arming themselves with tools of unimaginable destruction. Yet, even with all their technology, they had fallen. Emily shivered as she looked around the bridge. The weight of what they'd discovered pressed down on her. These humans had fought until the very end, refusing to give up even when hope was lost. But their determination hadn't saved them. Instead, it had left behind a ghost ship filled with sorrow and unanswered questions. As they prepared to leave the bridge and continue their search, Kel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The ship was dead, yes, but its secrets were alive, waiting to be uncovered. And not all secrets were meant to be found. The team descended deeper into the SS Horizon, their footsteps echoing in the narrow corridors. The lower decks were darker and colder than the upper levels, as if the ship itself had given up on these forgotten spaces long ago. Cale led the way, his hand resting on the hilt of his weapon, though he doubted it would do much good against whatever secrets lay ahead. Behind him, Nira clutched her scanner tightly, its faint glow casting eerie shadows on the walls. Emily and Daniel followed close behind, their faces pale with unease. They finally reached a heavy door marked with symbols and warnings. Nira examined the controls beside it, her fingers moving deftly to bypass the ancient locking mechanism. With a groan, the door slid open, revealing a vast chamber filled with rows of crates and storage units. The air inside was thick with dust, and the faint hum of residual energy lingered in the silence. "This must be the armory," Nira said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Cale stepped forward cautiously, his eyes scanning the room. The crates were sealed, but some had been damaged over time, spilling their contents onto the floor. Inside, they found weapons unlike anything the Zorathians had ever seen. Sleek missiles with sharp edges, railguns that looked capable of tearing through steel, and drones designed for relentless combat. Each piece of equipment was a testament to humanity's ingenuity and its capacity for destruction. Daniel knelt beside one of the missiles, examining its sleek design. "How could humans build something like this?" he asked, his tone filled with both awe and dread. "These weapons are monstrous." Nira nodded, her expression grim. She opened another crate, revealing blueprints and technical manuals. As she flipped through the pages, her frown deepened. "It's not just about building weapons," she explained. "They've integrated artificial intelligence into everything. These systems are designed to think, adapt, and destroy without hesitation." Emily shuddered. "Why would anyone need so much power? It's terrifying." Cale remained silent, his mind racing. He had heard stories about humanity, that they were intelligent but also reckless. Now, standing amidst their arsenal, he began to understand why. These weapons weren't just tools, they were extensions of humanity's ambition. They wanted to explore the stars, but they also wanted to dominate them, and domination came at a cost. As Nira continued to sift through the documents, she uncovered logs detailing the development of these weapons. One entry stood out: Project Titan, final testing phase complete. Weapon capable of planetary annihilation confirmed operational. The word sent a chill down her spine. Humanity had created something that could wipe out entire worlds. For what purpose? Defense, revenge, or simply because they could? "This is madness," Daniel muttered, shaking his head. "They built machines to destroy themselves." "Not just themselves," Cal corrected, his voice low. "If these weapons fell into the wrong hands, or if humanity used them, they could destroy entire civilizations. This isn't just about one species. It's about everyone." Emily hugged herself, trying to shake off the growing sense of dread. "Do you think this is why the SS Horizon failed? Did they use these weapons and bring about their own end?" Nara hesitated, unsure how to answer. She turned back to the terminal nearby, searching for more clues. What she found next made her blood run cold. A video file labeled "Simulation Test" caught her attention. With trembling hands, she activated it. The screen flickered to life, showing a holographic battlefield. Human warships clashed with an unknown enemy, unleashing devastating firepower. Planets exploded, stars dimmed, and entire fleets were reduced to rubble. The simulation ended with a chilling message: "Objective achieved. Enemy forces neutralized. Casualties, 98%. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just prepared for war, they were planning for it. Their simulation showed no regard for collateral damage, no hesitation in sacrificing countless lives to achieve victory. It was efficiency taken to its darkest extreme. Cale broke the silence. "We need to keep moving. There's still more to uncover." But as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were treading on dangerous ground. The weapons before them were relics of the past, but their legacy lived on. Somewhere out there, humanity still existed, and they carried this same destructive potential within them. As the team left the armory, The weight of their discovery pressed heavily on their shoulders. They had come seeking answers, but now they wondered if they were ready for the truth. The team moved further into the SS horizon, their footsteps muffled by the thick layers of dust on the floor. The air felt heavier now, as if the ship itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Kale led the way, his eyes scanning the dimly lit corridors for anything unusual. Behind him, Nira held her scanner tightly, its soft glow lighting up the darkness. Emily and Daniel followed closely, their expressions tense as they tried to make sense of the horrors they had already uncovered. They finally reached a large door marked with strange symbols and warnings. Nira examined the controls beside it, her fingers moving quickly to unlock the mechanism. With a low groan, the door slid open, revealing a massive chamber filled with rows of holographic projectors. The room was cold and silent, but the faint hum of energy suggested that the system was still partially active. "This must be some kind of simulation room," Nira said softly, her voice trembling slightly. Kale stepped inside cautiously, his eyes narrowing as he took in the setup. The projectors were arranged in a circle, and in the center of the room was a raised platform. It looked like a place where someone could stand and watch the simulations unfold around them. Nira approached one of the control panels and began activating the system. The projectors hummed louder, and soon the room was filled with glowing images of space battles, explosions, and destruction. One simulation showed human warships clashing with an unknown enemy. Missiles streaked across the void, tearing through alien vessels with horrifying precision. Entire fleets were wiped out in seconds, leaving behind only drifting debris. Another simulation depicted a planet being consumed by fire after a single missile strike. The surface cracked and melted, turning from blue and green to black and gray in moments. Emily gasped, her hands covering her mouth as she watched the devastation unfold. This is insane," Daniel muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. "Why would anyone create something like this? It's like they're celebrating destruction." Nira didn't respond immediately. Her eyes were glued to the screen as another simulation played out. This time, it showed a star being extinguished by a weapon so powerful that it collapsed the entire solar system around it. Planets were torn apart, their atmospheres stripped away in fiery bursts. The simulation ended with a chilling message. Objective achieved. Enemy forces neutralized. Casualties, 100%. Kale clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "This isn't just about winning battles," he said, his voice low and grim. "It's about total annihilation. They don't just want to defeat their enemies. They want to erase them completely." Emily hugged herself, trying to hold back tears. How can anyone think like this? How can they plan such horror? Nira hesitated, unsure how to answer. She turned back to the controls, searching for more information. What she found next made her stomach churn. A log file labeled War Doctrine caught her attention. She opened it, revealing pages of text outlining humanity's approach to conflict. The words were cold and calculated, describing war not as a last resort, but as a tool for dominance. Victory is achieved through overwhelming force. One passage read, "Mercy is weakness. Survival requires sacrifice." Daniel shook his head in disgust. These humans, they don't just fight wars. They embrace them. It's like they see violence as a natural part of life. Kale nodded slowly, his expression dark. And that's what makes them dangerous. They don't fear destruction, they prepare for it. They don't avoid conflict, they engineer it. As the team stood in silence, the weight of their discovery pressed heavily on their shoulders. These simulations weren't just theoretical exercises, they were reflections of humanity's mindset. Their willingness to destroy entire worlds, to sacrifice morality for power, painted a picture of a species both brilliant and terrifying. Nira finally broke the silence. "We need to keep going. There's still more to find." But as she spoke, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were uncovering something far bigger than they had anticipated. The SS Horizon wasn't just a relic of the past, It was a warning. And somewhere out there, humanity was still carrying that same legacy forward. As they left the simulation room, the images of destruction lingered in their minds. They had come seeking answers, but now they wondered if they were ready for the truth. Whatever humanity was capable of, it was clear that their potential for harm knew no bounds. The team pressed onward, their steps slower now, weighed down by the grim discoveries they had made. The SS horizon seemed to grow darker with each passing moment, as if the ship itself was closing in around them. Kale led the way, his sharp eyes scanning every corner for clues. Behind him, Nira clutched her scanner tightly, its glow barely cutting through the shadows. Emily and Daniel followed silently, their expressions heavy with unease. They entered a new section of the ship, a library of sorts, filled with rows of data terminals and shelves lined with digital archives. The room was eerily quiet, save for the faint hum of residual energy. Nira moved to one of the terminals, her fingers dancing over the controls to reactivate it. The screen flickered to life, displaying fragments of text and images. She began scrolling through personal journals left behind by the crew, each entry painting a vivid picture of their final days. One journal belonged to Lieutenant Harper, a young woman who had served aboard the SS Horizon. Her early entries were hopeful, filled with excitement about exploring the stars and representing humanity. But as time went on, her tone shifted. "We're running out of food," she wrote. "Some of the crew are starting to panic. Captain Ryan says help is coming, but I don't think he believes it himself." Another entry was even darker. "Fights have broken out in the lower decks. People are accusing each other of hoarding supplies. It's getting harder to keep everyone calm. I don't know how much longer we can hold on." Emily read over Nira's shoulder, her hands trembling slightly. "It's like they fell apart from the inside," she whispered. "They weren't just fighting an enemy. They were fighting each other." Cale nodded grimly. Desperation does that to people. When survival becomes the only goal, morality gets pushed aside. Nira continued digging through the archives, uncovering more logs. One particularly chilling entry came from Captain Ryan himself. "Today we lost another member of the crew. Supplies are nearly gone, and morale is at an all-time low. Some are talking about abandoning ship, but where would we go? We're stranded in the middle of nowhere. If Earth doesn't find us soon, none of us will make it." The final entry from the captain was written just days before the ship went silent. "I don't know what to do anymore. We've tried everything. Rationing, repairs, even sending out distress signals. Nothing works. The crew is losing hope, and so am I. If anyone finds this ship, know that we did everything we could. Humanity is strong, but sometimes strength isn't enough." Daniel shook his head sadly. They didn't stand a chance. They were trapped here, waiting for help that never came. Nira turned to another terminal, searching for more information. What she found next sent a chill down her spine. Hidden among the personal logs were technical notes detailing upgrades to the ship's weapon systems. Even as the crew starved and fought among themselves, they continued enhancing their arsenal. "If we survive this," one note read, "we'll be ready for anything or anyone." Cale frowned deeply. Even when they were dying, they kept preparing for war. It's like they couldn't imagine a future without conflict. Emily hugged herself, trying to process everything they had learned. Is this what humans are like? Always ready to fight, even when there's nothing left to fight for? Naira hesitated before answering. Maybe it's not about being human. Maybe it's about fear. They were scared of running out of supplies, of being forgotten, of whatever enemy they thought was out there. Fear makes people do terrible things. As they left the library, the weight of the crew's desperation lingered in the air. The SS Horizon wasn't just a warship. It was a tomb filled with stories of struggle, betrayal, and loss. Each discovery painted a clearer picture of humanity, not as heroes or villains, but as flawed beings capable of both brilliance and destruction. Cale stopped at the doorway, looking back at the darkened room. "We're running out of time," he said quietly. "Whatever answers we need, We have to find them soon." But as the team moved deeper into the ship, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The SS Horizon held many secrets, and not all of them were buried in its archives. Some, it seemed, were still alive and waiting. The team moved cautiously through the SS Horizon, their footsteps muffled by the thick dust that coated every surface. The air felt colder now, as if the ship was resisting their presence. Kale led the way, his eyes sharp and alert, scanning the dimly lit corridors for anything unusual. Behind him, Nira clutched her scanner tightly, its faint glow casting eerie shadows on the walls. Emily and Daniel followed closely, their expressions tense as they tried to process everything they had uncovered so far. They finally reached a large chamber at the heart of the ship. The room was dominated by a massive communication array, its antennas and panels stretching toward the ceiling. In the center was a control terminal, its screen flickering weakly with residual power. "This must be where they sent their final messages," Nira said softly, her voice trembling slightly. She approached the terminal, her fingers moving quickly to reactivate it. After a few moments, the screen came to life, displaying fragmented logs and audio files. One file stood out, a final transmission recorded by Captain Ryan shortly before the ship went silent. Nira hesitated for a moment before playing it. The captain's voice filled the room, weak and strained, but still carrying a sense of authority. "To any survivors out there, if you're listening, take heed. Humanity is both brilliant and flawed. Our creations can build wonders or wreak havoc. If we couldn't control ourselves, what hope do others have? We've left coordinates pointing toward Earth. Find us if you dare. But remember this, humanity doesn't back down, even when it should." The message ended abruptly, leaving the room in silence. Emily hugged herself, her wide eyes darting around as if expecting something to happen. "What does he mean, if you dare?" she whispered. "It sounds like a warning. Or a threat." Kale frowned deeply, his mind racing. "He's telling whoever finds this ship that humanity won't surrender easily. Even when they're beaten, they keep fighting. It's both admirable and terrifying." Nira examined the coordinates embedded in the message. They pointed toward Earth, humanity's home planet. Her hands trembled slightly as she processed the implications. "If we follow these coordinates, we'll find them," she said quietly. "But are we ready for that? After everything we've seen here, do we really want to meet them?" Daniel shook his head grimly. "We can't ignore this. If humanity has weapons like the ones we found, we need to know more about them. For our own safety, and for everyone else's." Kale nodded slowly, his expression serious. "We'll report back to the ship first. Let the others decide what to do next." But as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were already too late. The SS Horizon wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a harbinger of what humanity might become. As they prepared to leave the communication room, Emily noticed something strange. A faint blinking light caught her eye, coming from a panel on the wall. She pointed it out to the others, and Nira moved to investigate. When she opened the panel, she found a small device emitting a steady pulse. "It's a sensor," she said, her voice tight with concern. "It's been active this whole time." Cal's eyes narrowed. "You mean someone could be watching us?" Nira nodded, her face pale. "Whoever sent this ship out here knew it might be found. They left this behind to track anyone who came aboard." The realization sent a chill through the group. They weren't alone in uncovering the secrets of the SS Horizon. Someone, or something, had been monitoring their every move. The thought made Emily's stomach churn. "Do you think whoever it is knows we're here now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kale hesitated before answering. "Probably. But we don't have a choice. We need to get back to our ship and figure out what to do next." As they hurried toward the exit, the weight of their discovery pressed heavily on their shoulders. The SS Horizon had revealed humanity's brilliance, desperation, and capacity for destruction. But it had also shown something else, their determination to survive, no matter the cost. That determination was both inspiring and dangerous, and it left the team wondering what kind of species they were dealing with. When they finally reached the airlock, Cale paused, looking back at the ghostly corridors of the warship. "Let's go," he said firmly. "We've learned enough for now." But as the door hissed shut behind them, none of them could shake the feeling that the SS Horizon wasn't done with them yet. Its secrets had been uncovered, but its legacy was still alive, waiting to be confronted. And somewhere out there, humanity was watching. The alien team returned to their ship, the weight of their discoveries pressing heavily on their minds. Cale stood at the center of the bridge, his translucent skin shimmering faintly under the soft glow of the control panels. Around him, Nira, Emily, and Daniel gathered, each lost in their own thoughts. The SS Horizon had revealed humanity's brilliance, desperation, and destructive potential, but it had also left them with more questions than answers. "We need to decide what to do next," Cale said finally, breaking the silence. His voice was calm but firm, carrying the weight of leadership. "We've learned enough to know that humanity is dangerous. But we don't know how dangerous. Do we follow the coordinates to Earth, or do we retreat and warn our people?" Nira stepped forward, her expression conflicted. "If we go to Earth, we risk exposing ourselves. Humanity might see us as a threat, or worse, an opportunity. But if we leave now, we're leaving behind valuable information. We can't make assumptions about an entire species based on one ship." Daniel shook his head. "I don't think we should go anywhere near Earth. Those weapons we found, they're capable of destroying entire planets. What happens if they turn those weapons on us? We'd be walking into a trap." Emily nodded slowly, her voice trembling slightly. "But what if they're not all like that? What if there's more to humanity than just war and destruction? We saw their desperation on the SS Horizon. Maybe they're not as dangerous as they seem." Cale listened carefully, weighing each argument. He knew the decision would shape not only their mission, but also the future of their species. Finally, he spoke. "We'll observe Earth from a distance. For now, we stay hidden and gather more information. If humanity poses a threat, we need to understand it before we act." The team agreed, though unease lingered in the air. As their ship pulled away from the SS Horizon, Nira couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She replayed Captain Ryan's final message in her mind. "Find us, if you dare." It wasn't just a warning. It was a challenge. Humanity wasn't afraid of confrontation, even when they were outnumbered or outmatched. Back aboard their vessel, the team began analyzing the data they had collected. The coordinates pointed toward a vibrant blue planet teeming with life. From a distance, Earth looked peaceful, almost inviting. But the images of destruction from the SS Horizon's stimulations haunted them. Beneath its beauty, humanity carried the potential for unimaginable harm. As they prepared to enter orbit around Earth, Cale gave one final order. "Stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with yet. If humanity detects us, we need to be ready." But unknown to the team, their presence had already been noticed. Hidden sensors aboard the SS Horizon had recorded every move they made, relaying the information back to Earth through automated systems. On the surface of the planet, alarms began to sound within a high-security facility. A group of human scientists gathered around a monitor, studying the data. "They're here," one of them said, his voice filled with both excitement and tension. "Aliens, just like we predicted." Another scientist frowned, her eyes narrowing as she examined the readings. "They're staying in orbit, for now. But why are they observing us? What do they want?" The leader of the group, a stern woman named Commander Lewis, stood at the front of the room. "It doesn't matter what they want," she said firmly. "What matters is that they've come this far. If they're watching us, then we need to be ready. Activate the defense grid and prepare the Titan missile, just in case." Back aboard the alien ship, Nira felt a sudden chill run down her spine. She couldn't explain it, but something felt off. As she glanced at the view screen showing Earth below, she whispered softly to herself, We came here seeking answers, but I think we may have awakened something far bigger than we imagined." Kale turned to look at her, his expression unreadable. For the first time, he wondered if they had made the right choice. The SS Horizon had warned them about humanity's capacity for destruction. Now, as they hovered silently above Earth, they realized the warning might have been more urgent than they thought. And somewhere deep within the planet below, humanity waited, watching, calculating, and preparing.